Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC Vegas 73, Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. And typically, I do a full breakdown and prediction for every single UFC main event at the bare minimum. But because this main event was thrown together last minute and it's a bit lackluster, this is going to be my full main card picks for UFC Vegas 73. We're going to go through the entire main card. I'm going to give you my prediction for every single fight on the main card of UFC Vegas 73. And the main event, I'm not particularly excited about. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm hyped for this Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill main event. And I know you could say, oh, we'll cut the UFC some slack. They had to throw this together because of injuries. The original main event was Raquel Pennington versus Irene Aldana. So it wasn't a great main event to begin with. But luckily, we have some very good fights on the main card. Again, it's not the greatest card ever, but there's some decent fights on the main card. It's not the worst card I've ever seen. Starting off with the fight that opens up the main card, we have Michael Johnson versus Diego Ferreira. This is an interesting fight. I mean, you have Diego Ferreira, who's primarily a grappler, but he's coming in on a 3-fight losing streak against a declining Michael Johnson, who's coming in on a 1-fight win streak. You look at Michael Johnson, he's 36 years old. You look at Carlos Diego Ferreira, he's 38 years old. Michael Johnson's last fight was against Mark Joaquin. He won this fight. This was about 6 months ago. He won it via decision. Wasn't the best performance, but at least it was a win. The fight before that, he lost to Jamie Mullarkey via split decision. I thought he won this fight. So Michael Johnson could arguably be on a 3-fight losing streak, or 3-fight winning streak, I mean. And, you know, I thought he got robbed in the Jamie Mullarkey fight. I wouldn't call it a robbery. It was close enough. But honestly, he got robbed in that fight. And, you know, but Michael Johnson still, he's not the elite of the elite. And he's super inconsistent. And then you have Carlos Diego Ferreira on a 3-fight losing streak. He got finished by Mateusz Gamrot in the last fight. Got finished by Gregor Gillespie, who since went in witness protection the fight before that. And then lost to Beneil Dariush split decision the fight before that. His last win was 3 years ago against the declining Anthony Pettis. When I look at this fight, this is your striker versus grappler match. Will Carlos Diego Ferreira be able to get Michael Johnson down? And will he be able to finish him? And in my opinion, I think Michael Johnson has good enough takedown defense. We've seen him throughout his career. His opponent's main strategy is to go out there and take him down. Because he has speed, because he has good striking, people want to take him down. His takedown defense, bar against the elite of the elite, is pretty decent. And I think he wins this fight. I'm going Michael Johnson via decision. I think he stuffs the takedowns. But the reason I'm picking him via decision instead of KO, I think he'll be tentative on the feet, especially early, because he's going to be worried about the takedowns of Carlos Diego Ferreira. But I think Michael Johnson has a clear advantage in the striking. I think he has a clear advantage in the power. I think he could finish Carlos Diego Ferreira, and if he does, I think it'll be like a late second round, early third round TKO. But I just think he's going to be a little bit more reserved because he's worried about the takedown. But I think he's primarily going to throw his hands. He's going to have a speed advantage. I think he's going to be landing on Carlos Diego Ferreira. I think he's going to be pumping the jab. I think he's going to be outstriking him for the majority of the fight. I see this like a 30-27 win for Michael Johnson. I could see like a 29-28. Maybe there's a round where it's pretty even, and then Carlos Diego Ferreira gets a takedown and controls him for a little bit, and maybe the judges give him that round. But I really don't see 38-year-old Carlos Diego Ferreira coming in on a 3-fight losing streak, been stopped in his last 2 fights. I don't see him going out there and putting on a world-class performance against Michael Johnson. Moving up the card, we have Andre Fialho versus Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley moving down to welterweight. We have Fialho, who's on a 2-fight losing streak, been stopped in his last 2 fights. His last fight was against Muslim Salikov. His fight before that was against Jake Matthews, where he got TKO'd, made Jake Matthews look like the elite of the elite, look like a world beater in that fight. And, you know, this is a tough fight for Andre Fialho. He was being super active before that. He beat Cameron Van Camp. He beat Miguel Baeza, finished both of those guys. But this is a tough ask against Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley's coming in on a 2-fight losing streak, but up at middleweight. He got KO'd by Chris Curtis in a fight that he was being very competitive in. And then the fight before that, he lost to Nasruddin Imavov. He lost the first 2 rounds, won the 3rd round. Had that fight been a 5-round fight, he might have beat Nasruddin Imavov. And now he's moving down a weight class. And I just don't, at this point, I don't trust Andre Fialho's chin. I do not. And Joaquin Buckley throws combinations nonstop. He's constantly being active. He had good power at middleweight. What is his power going to look like at welterweight? So I am going with Joaquin Buckley, 1st round KO. I think he's going to clip Andre Fialho on the chin with a big punch, drop him, finish him off with ground and pound. I just don't think Fialho, I think, he's returning relatively soon. I mean, not super quickly, but 5 months ago is when he got last finished by Muslim Salikov, and it was a brutal finish. And now he's coming back against a former middleweight in Joaquin Buckley, who has nasty power. I just think it's a recipe for disaster. I think this fight's going to primarily play out in the feet. And Fialho has very good striking, but I just think Buckley has the volume advantage. And when you throw that much volume, and Buckley has a good chin himself, and now he's moving down a weight class, I just think he's going to find the chin of Fialho in that first round and finish him. Moving up the card, Emily Ducote versus Lupi Godinez. Lupi Godinez coming in on short notice. Honestly, this is a 50-50 fight. I don't know what Lupi Godinez's cardio is going to look like coming in on short notice, because she primarily uses her pressure and pace to win fights. She's coming in with a win over Cynthia Calvillo. A lot of people thought Calvillo would win. I thought it was clearly a win for Lupi Godinez, even though people were debating about that. And she kind of won it with her pressure. The last fight before that and her last loss was to Angela Hill, which was in a close fight, honestly, as well. And then you look at Emily Ducote. She's coming in a loss against Angela Hill as well. Lost via decision to Angela Hill. Before that, she beat Jessica Penne, and that was her first fight in the UFC. And honestly, what I see in this fight is I see pretty even on the feet. I think maybe Ducote's a better striker, a little bit better striker, but I think Godinez makes up for that with her pressure and pace and volume. But is her cardio going to be effective? Because these are strawweight fighters that are fighting at a catchweight of 120 because of the short notice for Lupi Godinez. But ultimately, I am going Lupi Godinez decision. I think she's going to use her pace. I think she's going to use her offensive wrestling. I think she has a wrestling advantage. I think she's going to move forward, press her against the fence, look for takedowns, land combinations. She's going to get clipped up a little bit herself. She's going to leave with a little bit of damage, but I think she gets it done. Moving on to the co-main event, we have Edmund Shahbazyan versus Anthony Hernandez. This is a striker versus grappler matchup. Edmund Shahbazyan wants to keep it standing. Anthony Hernandez wants to get him down, wants to look for a submission. Edmund Shahbazyan coming off that win over Dolce Lugambula, where he finished him, but he didn't look particularly great up until the finish. And then before that, he got finished twice out of the last 3 fights before that. Got finished brutally by Nasruddin Imavov, crucifixed, elbowed, took a lot of damage. Went to decision, but got brutalized by Jack Hermanson, and then got brutalized by Derek Brunson. That was 2.5 years ago. They tried to build Shahbazyan's name off of Derek Brunson, and Derek Brunson sent him to the back of the line. And it's crazy to me that Edmund Shahbazyan's only 25 years old. But in this fight, I just don't trust him. I mean, I know he changed his camp. He got away from Edmund Tarvarian. He went to Extreme Couture. And, I know he was only working on head movement with Edmund Tarvarian, but he moved to Extreme Couture. I just don't think he looked particularly great in his last fight where he got a finish. I don't trust his takedown defense. I don't trust his cardio. His striking looks like it's regressed. He's taken a lot of damage. And he's coming in against Anthony Hernandez, who finished Marc-Andre Barriault in his last fight, beat Josh Frem in the fight before that, and finished Rodolfo Vieira via submission. So Anthony Hernandez is super scrappy. He's moving forward, looking for takedowns, looking for subs. And I just think in this fight, Edmund Shahbazyan will start out well. He'll land some good shots, but I think ultimately Anthony Hernandez is going to be pressing forward, looking for the clinch, looking for takedowns. If he gets stuffed once, he's going to look for a second. He's going to look for a third. He's eventually going to get it, control Edmund Shahbazyan, beat him up a little bit, and I think eventually he finds a submission. I am going to go with Anthony Hernandez via second round rear naked choke. I think the first round, maybe Edmund Shahbazyan keeps him off him, stuffs some takedowns, but Anthony Hernandez is still probably going to win the round. He's going to get a takedown late in the round, do some damage with the ground and pound. But I think Shahbazyan's going to fade by the time the second round comes around. Anthony Hernandez is going to get into the clinch, land some shots in the clinch, just constantly wearing on Edmund Shahbazyan. And Shahbazyan doesn't have a good gas tank at all. And I just think Shahbazyan's taken too much damage. He's been exposed time and time again. And I think Anthony Hernandez, he's got so much momentum going into this fight. And I don't even think Shahbazyan looked good in his last win. It was really not a great performance before the finish. And so I got to go with Anthony Hernandez. I think he's going to get Shahbazyan down middle of the second round, and I think eventually he's going to work his way to a rear naked choke. Moving on to the main event, Mackenzie Dern versus Angela Hill. Angela Hill is 15-12 in her pro MMA career. I'm not looking forward to this fight. I'm going to be honest, guys. This is not, it's not a horrible fight. It's not a great fight. It was 3 rounds. It went to 5 rounds. You have Mackenzie Dern, who's coming in off a loss to Yan Xiaonan. Her last win before that was a split decision against Tecia Torres, which was debatable, but I thought Mackenzie Dern won that fight. Then she had a loss to Marina Rodriguez, which honestly now it hasn't aged very well with what Verna Jandiroba just did to her. But we know what this fight is too. This is a grappler versus striker matchup. Angela Hill wants to strike. Mackenzie Dern wants to get you to the ground and submit you. Angela Hill is scrappy. She's constantly fighting in close fights where there's split decisions. You know, she's on a 2-fight win streak against Emily Ducote and Lupita Godinez. Before that, she was on a 3-fight losing streak. She lost to Verna Jandiroba. She lost to Amanda Lemos. She lost to Tecia Torres. But she's losing all those via unanimous decision. Or via decision, not unanimous decision, because some of those are split decisions. But I think what this comes down to is, can Mackenzie Dern get her to the ground? Mackenzie Dern moves forward, rushes forward. She'll eat a shot to try to get the clinch and look for a takedown. And Angela Hill has decent movement. She has decent takedown defense. But I think in 5 rounds, I think eventually she's going to get taken down. She's 38 years old. I can't believe she's 15-12. That is craziness. She's lost as many fights as Mackenzie Dern has won. And I just think Mackenzie Dern at some point finds the clinch, gets her to the ground, and then finishes her via armbar. I'm going Mackenzie Dern second round armbar finish over Angela Hill. I think at some point Angela Hill's got to fall off. You know, she's been finished in the past via submission twice in her career, but it was a long time ago, so I thought about picking Mackenzie Dern via decision. But I just think in this fight, and I think Mackenzie Dern's jiu-jitsu is so good, I think she will get that takedown. I think she will find a submission. It's just a matter of what round. You know, could it be the 3rd or 4th round? And I'm interested, if this does go 5 rounds, whose cardio holds up the best in the 4th and 5th round? Because Mackenzie Dern can put on a crazy pace, looking to land big shots, looking to get takedowns if she's getting stuffed. But I just think Angela Hill, she's not elite anywhere. She's just really good everywhere. And not even really good everywhere, to be honest. That's a bit of a stretch. That's being generous. And I just think Mackenzie Dern's willingness to move forward, land a shot, eat a shot, just to get a takedown, get the clinch, get a takedown. I think I'm going to say late 2nd round armbar submission for Mackenzie Dern. I think she'll land some good shots on the feet because Angela Hill's worried about the takedown. But I think once she gets her to the ground, I think the 1st round maybe primarily striking, maybe Angela Hill defends a few takedowns. I think once she gets her down, she's going to find the armbar fairly quickly because Angela Hill's going to be trying to scramble out of there, and Mackenzie Dern's jiu-jitsu is just so good. I think she's going to find the submission, late 2nd round submission for Mackenzie Dern. Let me know what you guys are predicting for UFC Vegas 73. Who you picking in the entire main card? Comment it down below. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.